So, good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm happy to see Professor Ayu and all the students again. So today I want to introduce the topic. I want to share the topic about the topic is urinary system, but in the biology, it's an animal excretory system. So I also included some lower grade or low level animal in the course. So this is I prepared the whole excretory systems in the lower hierarchy animal and to the human. So this is the whole picture of my talk. So before my talk, I want to share about the 5 slides to introduce international program in the TMU. Because okay, so I want to this is it's a advertisement moment. I want to share some information for all the students and for the lecturer or professor in the Indonesia. If you want to come to Taiwan to pursue the PhD or master degree, you can consider the international program for your career. So in the College of Medicine in the Taipei Medical University, we have the 2 international programs. The first one is International Master and PhD program in medicine. So majority of the students in this program are clinical doctors. So I am a former director, so I was in charge of the program for 5 years. So we have more than now 50 students in study in this program. So now the director Chen is a director of the IGPN. So we offer the clinical training course for the clinical doctor. So if you are a clinical doctor, you register, you apply the program, and then you can go to our hospital to do the clinical observation. So you can continue your clinical issue. So this is one of the international program in the College of Medicine. And the other international program is IPCTRN. This is a new program and also only for the international student, focus on the cell therapy and the regeneration. So if you are interested in the study the cell therapy, how about the stem cell or something, or how to use the NK cell to treat the human, the cancer patient or something like that, you also can apply this program. And these 2 programs offer the scholarship for the students. So if you want to know the detail, you can visit the TMU website. There is the whole career regulation. And I also have a grant called the New Southbound, the MOS grant. So we have the MOS course. MOS course is an online course. So it's supported by the MOE, Ministry of Education, Taiwan. So we already made the 3 courses online. So all the courses are free and the self-paced and the open content. And also, if you want to study the course, you just register the course, and then you can see when you have time, you can read. And then finally, if you pass the test, you can get the certificate. So in my hands, I have the 3 most courses here. This course focuses on the pulmonary medicine, lung medicine. So there are 3 topics, including the pulmonary rehabilitation, sleep and respiratory care, and the practice in rehabilitation and the cardiopulmonary exercise. So these 3 courses already upload online on the Open EDU. So I just want to announce, if the student or the teacher want to see the video, you can register the course, and all the courses are free. Okay. So this course uploaded show on the Open EDU. So you can find the Open EDU platform and to register the course. Okay. After the advertisement moment, we move into the topic I want to share with all the students and the professors. So today the topic is the excretory system. Also, we can say the urinary systems. So this the first slide is an overview. The excretory system, the urinary system, the function of the excretory system is a balancing act. They just want the urinary system just to want to maintain the osmolarity in the body and the outside the body. So the urinary system is a balancing act. The physiology system of the animal operate in fluid environment. So physiology system, an animal needed to take care about the fluid environment because the osmolarity will affect the several physiological functions. So the relative concentration of the water and the solute must be maintained within the fairly narrow limits. It means that an animal cannot suffer the big change in the water and the solute contents. So we need to have the well control the water content and the solute content in the body and keep them in the balance. So there is a term called the Osmo Regulation. Osmo Regulation is a regulation of the osmolarity. So Osmo Regulation regulates the solute concentration and the balance, the gain and the loss of the water. So the control the water gain and the water loss, and the control the solute concentration in the body. So in the biology, the freshwater animal means the animal live in the freshwater environment. So the environment did not have the more solute. So the show adaptation with the reduced water uptake. So the freshwater animal easily to intake the more water and the low concentration of the solute. So the freshwater animal needed to develop a physiological regulation to reduce the water uptake and to conserve the solute. And the desert and the marine animal is contrast to is different from the freshwater animal. Marine animal, the environment for the marine animal is a higher solute and low water. So they face the problem desiccating the environment and can deplete the water fluid. So the excretion, the urinary system is very important. They needed to get rid of the nitrogenous metabolites and other waste products. So this is overview here. So the osmo regulation is very important for an animal. So the osmo regulation balances the uptake and the loss of the water and the solute. So the osmo regulation is based largely on controlled movement between the internal fluid and the external environment. So this is very important to maintain the physiological balance. So control the internal fluid, the concentration of solute in the internal fluid, and the concentration of solute in the external environment, and make the both sides in the balance. This is called the osmo regulation. So there are two terms here. The first one is osmosis. Osmosis is the cell, all the animals were composed by the cells. So cell is the basic unit of an animal. So the cells require a balance between uptake and the loss of the water. So the cell needed to control the water uptake and the water loss. And the osmolarity is a term to define the solute concentration in the solution. So the solute concentration of the solution determine the movement of the water across the selective permeable membrane. So the osmolarity means the solute concentration of the solution. So the higher osmolarity means high solute concentration, and the lower osmolarity means the lower solute concentration. And we also can high solute concentration means the low water concentration, and the lower solute concentration means higher water concentration. So if the two solutions are the same osmolarity, we can say the two solutions are in isoosmotic. So the two solutions are in isoosmotic. The movement of the water, because the two two sides are the same osmolality, means the same solute concentration. So the water from the right to left, from the left to right, the movement, the rate is the same. So if the two solutions are isoosmotic, the movement of the water is equal in both directions. In contrary, if the two solutions differ in the osmolality, the net flow water is from the hypoosmotic. Hypo means the lower osmolality to the higher osmolality. Okay, so if the two solutions in different osmolality, means the one side is higher solute concentration called the hyperosmotic. The other side is lower solute concentration, means the low hypoosmotic. Hypoosmotic means the lower solute concentration, higher water content. So the water will be moved from the hypo to hyper solution. So there is the figure here. So there is an experiment. So we can use the author can use the permeable membrane, selective permeable membrane to separate the two solutions. On the left side is a higher solute concentration called the hyperosmotic side. Hyperosmotic side means contain the higher solute concentration and the lower water concentration. And the right side contain the lower solute concentration called the hypoosmotic side. So the lower solute concentration and the higher water concentration. So we can see the water from the right side to the left side. So the water movement from the hypo to hyperosmotic side. So the animal living no matter the animal living in the water or on land, the animal face the problem in the osmotic challenge. So some animal, especially in the marine animal, they don't want to spend lots of the energy to maintain the osmolality. So they develop a system to keep the internal osmolality the same as the outside. So called the Osmo Conformer. So the Osmo Conformer consisting only some marine animal are isoosmotic. So the some marine animal, they don't want to spend the energy. They don't want to use the regulation to control the inside and the outside osmolality. So they just keep the inside and the outside condition the same. So called the Osmo Conformer. So the Osmo Conformer in some marine animal are isoosmotic. So with their surrounding, so they don't need to regulate their osmolality. So save the lots of energy. But most animals are Osmo Regulators. Osmo Regulator means the inside condition and the outside condition are different. The different osmolality. So needed to through the regulations, using the lots of energy to maintain the water movement, maintain the solute movements. So called the Osmo Regulators. So the Osmo Regulators is spending energy to control the water uptake in a hyperosmotic or hypoosmotic environments. So most animals are Osmo Regulator. Only some of the marine animals are Osmo Conformer. They don't want to need to spend a lot of the energies. And there is animal, they can survive in the large fluctuation of the external osmolality called the eukarine animals. Eukarine means like the salmon. Salmon can swim in the sea and then back to the fresh water, right? So the salmon can adjust their osmo regulation system in the hyperosmotic condition to the hypoosmotic condition. So the animal can survive large fluctuation in external osmolality called the eukarine animals. Most animals cannot keep the body in the fluctuation of the osmolality. So most animals are stenoharing. stenohairy mean the very narrow. So the most animal cannot tolerate substantial change in the external osmolality. They only, like a human, we needed to keep our body physical condition in a very narrow sodium concentration, potassium concentration. We cannot we cannot survive in the bigger change, bigger fluctuation. So most animals are stenohairy, but some animals can survive in large fluctuation of the osmolality, like a salmon I mentioned. Is an example. So the marine animal, so most marine invertebrate means like the worm or other non-vertebrate animals. Marine invertebrate are Osmo Conformer. Osmo Conformer, I explained before in the previous slides, just keep the inside and the outside osmolality in the same concentration. So most marine vertebrate and some invertebrate are Osmo Regulator. So the marine invertebrate are Osmo Conformer. Marine vertebrate, Osmo Regulator. Marine bunny fish are hyperosmotic to seawater. So the marine bunny fish, because the seawater is high solute condition, so the bunny fish living in the sea, in the marine, so the outside environment is a hyperosmotic. So the inside internal condition is a hyperosmotic. So marine animal easy to lose water by osmosis and gain the salt by diffusion and from the foods. So this is a condition, the problem, the marine animal face the problem, easy to lose water by osmosis and easy to gain the salt, gain the solute by the diffusion. So the marine animal, the balance water loss by drinking seawater. So the marine animal needed to needed to drink large amount of the seawater and excrete salt and excrete large amount of salt and keep the water inside the body. So this is the marine animal needed to do. So the marine animal is face the problem, easy to lose water, easy to get the salt. So in order to have the balance, so marine animal have to drink large amount of the seawater and excrete large amount of salt. So the urine is a high concentration. Contrary, the freshwater animal face the different problem. The freshwater animal take easy in the living in the freshwater. So the outside the environment is a lower solute concentration and a higher water concentration. So the freshwater animal constantly take in the water by osmosis because the environment is hyperosmotic. So the freshwater animal easy to lose salt by diffusion and maintain the water balance. So the freshwater animal always produce large amount of the dilute urine. Okay, so the freshwater animal face the problem because the water is too much and solute the iron is concentration is too low. So they needed to keep the salt in the body and produce the dilute urine. So the salt loss by diffusion and replaced in foods by intake across the gill. So they needed the freshwater animal needed to intake to keep the solute in the body through the gill. Okay, so this is a marine animal and the freshwater animal. They face the different environments. So they needed to adjust the physiology to fit the environment. So you can see the osmo regulation in the marine fish. So the marine fish, they intake the large amount of the water, the seawater, and the salt iron, and then the gill will excrete the salt iron from the gill, and the osmotic, and finally the marine fish can produce the small amount, scanty means the amount of urine from the kidney, and also remove the large amount of the salt iron and the small amount of water, because the marine fish face the problem to keep the water inside the body. So they needed to produce the small amount of the urine. How about in contrary, the freshwater animal, the freshwater fish, they in the environment, they have lots of the water and the small amount of the solute. So the intake, finally, the freshwater fish produce the large amount of the water, diluted urine from the kidney, okay? So I just want to mention the animal needed to adjust the excretory system to fit the needs, to fit their needs. And this is salmon. Salmon fish, they can live in the sea or living in the fresh water. So it's a eukaryotic animal. So in the sea, the physiological condition of the salmon will be adjusted to fit the marine fish. And when the salmon want to spawning, want to lay the egg, they went back to the river, right? So they needed to in the river, in the fresh water, the physiological regulation will be changed to the freshwater systems. So the salmon is a eukaryotic animals. Eukaryotic means that they can fit the marine condition in the freshwater condition. And some invertebrate animal living in the temperate water. As we know, there's some aquatic invertebrate in the temperate ponds. They will face some problem. Maybe if the duration is long duration, no rain for long duration, the water will be dehydrated, and finally the aquatic invertebrate need to change because our invertebrate have always had cheating out shear, right? So after the long term, no rain and no water, and the invertebrate still needed to survive. So they will change it to another dehydrated forms. So this slide I just want to show the invertebrate develop a different system to survive in the dehydrated environments. So aquatic invertebrate temporary ponds, they will change to another type. For example, the hydrated tardigrade. Tardigrade is a type of the invertebrate. And in the water, the tardigrade will develop the 6 legs, so they can swim in the water. And when the water has been dehydrated, no rain, no water, they will form another shape, and can live in the land and for a long time until the raining again. They will develop to the hydrated tardigrade. So this type, we call this type of the adaptation is called the anhydrobiosis. So anhydrobiosis means that some invertebrate want to survive in the dehydrated condition. They will make the body and change the shape. This is called the anhydrobiosis. And then animals face the problem to adapt the reduced water loss and the key to survive on land. So in the evolution, the animal from the land from the water to the land, they face the problem the major problem is to reduce the water loss and to survive on land. So the land animal covering the most terrestrial animal help to prevent the dehydration. So like the human, we have the skin, we have some hair on the skin. They can prevent the dehydration. And the desert animal get the major water surviving from the simple economic future. So the desert animal, they face the very hot condition. So they needed to keep all the water. So they saving from the simple and anatomic feature and the behavior like the nocturnal lifestyle. So the desert animal always go outside for food at night and not in the day, right? So because they want to keep they don't want to lose of the water. So the desert animal needed to get major water saving from the simple and anatomic feature and the behavior, nocturnal style. And the land animal maintain the water balance by eating the moist foods. So the land animal needed to intake lots of the moist foods and produce the water through the metabolic, like the cellular respiration, like the mitochondrial cellular respiration. They also can produce the water and to offer our needs. So the land animal needed to take care about the water loss. So you can see there is a figure here. So the water balance in a kangaroo rat. Kangaroo rat is a desert rat. So they only per day the kangaroo rat needs about the two meal. So how to get the two meal water? So the 2 meal water, 1.8 from the metabolism, because the desert there is no water, so it's not easy to get the water, and 0.2 from the ingested foods. So the kangaroo rat totally need about the 2 meal per day. And the water loss, the kangaroo rat living in the desert, so the urine, the small amount of urine, so the most water was lost from the evaporation. So the different in the desert, the animal will lose the most water by the evaporation. And in a human, it's totally different water distribution. So human, we needed around the 2,500 to 2,500 meal water per day. So the most water from the ingested from the drinking. So our water will be from the ingested liquids, and the foods about the 750, and the metabolic only 250. So this is the distribution of the water intake. And the water loss, about the 1,500 released from the urine, and the phases about the 100, and the evaporation about the 900. So this I just want to show the different environment. The animal face the different problem. So the water gain and the water loss will show the different patterns. Like the desert and the human, human got the water from the injected liquids. And the osmo regulation is very important for animal. However, the osmo regulation also need to spend lots of the energy. So energetic of the osmo regulation. So the osmo regulator must spend the energy to maintain the osmotic gradient. So the amount of the energy different based on I just want to mention the osmo regulation in the animal needed to use lots of the energies. So the amount of the energy differ based on how different the animal's osmolality is from the surrounding. So the animal and the surrounding environment, inside and outside, had a bigger difference. So the animal needed to take the large amount to spend lots of energy for the osmo regulation, and how easy and the solute move across the animal surface, and the work required to pump a solute across the membrane. So these 3 reasons will determine the energy for the osmo regulation in an animal. So the osmo regulation needed through a specific epithelium. So this type of epithelium called the transport epithelium. So the transport epithelium in the osmo regulation is very important. So the animal regulates the solute content of the body fluid. They base their cells. So there is a type of epithelium called the transport epithelium. So transport epithelium is a type of the epithelial cell. They are special for moving the solute in a specific directions. I will show a slide later to show the transport epithelium. So the transport epithelium is a type of the epithelial cells. are arranging in a special manner and to control the solute moving in specific directions. So the transport epithelium, they are typically arranged in a compressed tubular network. So they will arrange in the network. So there is an example in the marine birds. Marine birds, there is a gland called the nasal gland. So the nasal gland marine birds always drink the seawater. So they will intake the many amounts of the salt from the seawater. So there is a gland called the nasal gland in the marine birds. They will remove the excess sodium chloride from the blood to maintain the osmolality in the body. So there are figure here. So this is marine birds. Okay, so marine birds living by the sea. So they will drink the seawater, but the salt concentration is much higher than they need. So they will use there is the salt nasal salt gland at the top of the wheel over here, and there is a duct connected to the nostril. So you can see the nasal salt gland here. They will see the diffusion to remove the high concentration of the salt from the nostril to maintain the osmolality in the body. So you can see the cross section of the nostril salt gland here. So they are contain the capillary here, and there is also, you can bigger one here. So there is the epithelial cell, and this is a central duct and the secretory tubular. So the bladder flow and the salt secretion, they will show the different, they will show the different movement, different directions. So this type of the two blood vessel or two tube, the fluid movement in the different direction called the counter current exchange. Counter current means like the blood vessel is up and the salt secretion is down. So this called the counter current. The counter current model exists in the many human system, many animal system. They can make the salt in every stage, can remove the salt to the tube and remove the salt out of the body. So this called the counter current exchange. So I just want to mention this is a transport epithelium can make the salt from the blood to the tube and remove the salt from the nostril. So the marine birds can maintain the physiological balance in the body. And the animal, the excretory system, the urinary system, the major purpose of the excretory system is to remove the nitrogenous waste. So the animal nitrogenous waste reflect their phylogeny and the habitat. So I just want to mention the urinary system. The purpose of the urinary system is to remove the nitrogenous base. And the different animal, from lower to higher animal, they will produce the different nitrogenous waste. So the type and the quantity of the animal waste products will affect its water balance. So how an animal can produce the nitrogenous base? The nitrogenous base are major from the protein and the nucleic acid. As we know, the protein is composed by the amino acid. So in the human, there are 20 amino acids that is a basic unit of the protein. So after the metabolism, the protein will be degraded. The amino acid contain the N-terminal and the C-terminal. So the N-terminal will be metabolized to the nitrogenous waste. And the nucleic acid also the same. Nucleic acid contain contain the ATCG or AUCG. So it's a new nucleotide. So nucleotide has three major groups: is nitrogenous base and the phosphate and the pentose, right? So after the nucleic acid was digested, was metabolized, they will produce the nitrogenous base. So the nitrogenous base derived from the protein and the nucleic acid degradation. So the nitrogenous waste can be divided to three types. The animal living in the water, they needed to secrete the water-soluble nitrogenous waste. So the major type is ammonia. So some animal converted to the nitrogenous waste to the ammonia. So ammonia is very toxic. So ammonia is not suitable for the land animal. They're only suitable for the water animal. So some animal convert the toxic ammonia. Nitrogenous base is ammonia. And the human and the birds will convert the ammonia to less toxic, like the urea or uric acid. I will show the slide here. So the nitrogenous base were derived from the protein and the nucleic acid degradation. So the protein degradation and the nucleic acid degradation, protein contain the amino acid and the nucleic acid contain the nitrogenous base. After the digestion, they will produce the nitrogenous base. And the different species animal produce the different type of the nitrogenous base. For example, the water animal, aquatic animal, like the bunny fish, they will produce the ammonia as the nitrogenous waste, because the ammonia is easy to dissolve in the water and also very light, so easy to diffuse into the water. And the mammals, like the human and the amphibian and the shark and some bunny fish, converted the ammonia to the urea. So the ammonia only one nitrogen, and the urea, one molecule urea has two molecular nitrogen. And many reptile like the birds, insects, and the snail, they will dehydrate, they will condense the urea to the uric acid. They will keep more water in the body. So from the ammonia to the urea and to the uric acid, so the different animal can produce the different nitrogenous waste for their needs. Okay, so the nitrogenous waste derived from the amino acid and the nucleic acid. And the forms of the nitrogenous waste, we can see the wording here. So the animal excrete the nitrogenous waste in different forms, including the ammonia, urea, and the uric acid. These differ in the toxicity and the energy cost. So the produced ammonia is much easier, so they don't need to spend a lot of energy. But if the animal converted the ammonia to the urea, they needed to do the dehydration. So they needed to spend lots of energy. And from the urea to uric acid, they needed to do more chemical reaction. So needed to take much energy for the production of the uric acid. So the difference in the toxicity and the energy cost. So the ammonia is for the aquatic animal, access to lots of the water. So release of ammonia across the whole body surface through the gill of water aquatic fish through the gill. They can easy to release the ammonia, and the ammonia easy to dissolve in the water. And the urea is a nitrogenous waste produced by the liver. So the liver of the mammals and the most adult amphibian converted the ammonia to the less toxic urea. So the circulatory system can carry the urea to the kidney, and then will excrete it. So the converted the ammonia to urea is energetically expensive. Okay, so the conversion of the ammonia to urea needed to spend energy. So the excretion urea require less water than ammonia. So the urea is not as soluble as the ammonia. Ammonia is soluble to the water. So in the mammals like a human, liver will convert the ammonia to the urea, and then urea is the major nitrogenous base in the mammals. And finally is the third type is uric acid. Uric acid is a nitrogenous base of the insects, land snails, and many reptiles, including the birds. They excrete the uric acid. So the uric acid is relatively non-toxic and does not dissolve in the water. So it can secrete it as a pest. So the uric acid, you can see you can see the white crystal in the faces of the birds. Okay, so the uric acid is more energetically expensive. So from the ammonia to urea to uric acid, each step needed to spend lots of the energies. So the influence of the evolution and the environment on the nitrogenous base. So this slide, I just want to show why the different animals to produce the different nitrogenous waste, because the nitrogenous waste is created depends on the animal's evolution history and the habitat, especially the water availability. So another factor in the immediate environment is amylase. So the amount of the nitrogenous waste is coupled to the ammonia energy budget. So the last sentence is the most important. So the animal produced different type of the nitrogenous base because depends on the energy budget. If the energy budget is enough, they will convert the nitrogenous base to non-toxic like the uric acid. If the energy budget is lower, they cannot support the conversion. So they will release the lower energy waste like the ammonia or urea. Okay. And the diverse excretory system are variation on the tubular things. So these two slides I just want to introduce about the nitrogenous base. And then I want to introduce the excretory systems. So the excretory system composed by the different tubes. So diverse excretory system are variations on the tubular things. So excretory system regulate the solute movement between the internal fluid and the external environment. So the excretory process in the human or in the animal, they needed to produce the filtrate. So the filtrate produce the filtrate is the first step of the excretory systems. So the most excretory systems produce the urine by the refining the filtrate derived from the body fluid. So the excretory system key function, there are 4 key functions of the most excretory systems. The first one called the filtration. Filtration is the blood or body fluid through the filter to produce the filtrate. This process is called the filtration. Okay, so the filtration is the filtering of the body fluid. And the second step is called the rehabilitation, the reabsorption. Reabsorption means our urine and the filtrate needed to be concentrated, right? So needed to more waste released from the central parts to the filtrate. So called the reabsorption, and the reclaim the valuable and some valuable material needed to reabsorb back to the body. So the second step is reabsorption, is reclaiming the valuable solute back to the body, called the reabsorption. And the third step is called the secretion. Secretion means, as I mentioned, the increase the waste concentration. Okay, so the secretion adding the non-essential solute and the waste from the fluid to the filtrate. And finally, the filtrate needed to remove from the body, called the excretion. So the excretion, the process filtrate contain the nitrogenous waste released from the body. So the excretory system content needed to have the 4 functions to produce the filtrate first, called the filtration, and the reabsorption to reabsorb the valuable solute, valuable material back to the body, and the secretion to increase the waste concentration in the filtrate, and the excretion to process the filtrate and remove the filtrate released from the body to outside, called the excretion. So the excretion process contains these 4 events. So you can see this is a basic unit of the excretory systems. So you can see this is a Bowman capsule, right? Bowman capsule. There is a bowl of the capillary. So the afferent, the enter blood vessel, and the remove and the afferent blood vessel. So you can see the different pressure here. So they will produce the filtrate. So this is the first step. The glomerular, right? Glomerular contain the inside blood vessel and the outside blood vessel. So there is a different blood pressure different here. So they will produce the filtrate. So this is the first step called the filtration. And the filtrate, the primary filtrate contains some valuable material. So needed to reabsorb back to the blood vessel. So this called the reabsorption. So reabsorption is reclaim the valuable solute, valuable material back to the body. And the third step, some waste in the blood vessel needed to release back to the tube, the filtrate, so called the secretion, to increase the waste concentration, secretion. And finally, the urine will be produced, and then excretion release the urine to the environment. So this is the step of the excretory systems. So the survey of the excretory systems. So this is the basic structure of the excretory systems. So there are 2 slides. I want to show from the lower animal to the higher animal. The excretory system, there is a little bit difference. So the survey of the excretory systems, the systems that perform basic excretory function very widely among the animal group. So they usually involve a complex network. So this all the same. Even in the low animal, the excretory system also contain the complex network of the tubules. So in the low animal, like the flatworm, there is an excretory system called the protonephridia. Protonephridian is a network of the dead end tube connected to the external opening. I will show the structure later. So there is a protonephridia is a excretory system of lower animals. So there is a collecting organ called the phlegm bulb. So the phlegm bulb can collect the waste from the inside the body and collect the waste through the phlegm bulb, and then remove the waste from the body through the protonephridia. So this tube is created to dilute the urea and function in the osmo regulation. You can see the slide here. So this is the flatworm. So flatworm, there are several protonephridia in the flatworm. So flatworm, you can see the bigger one figure here. So there is an opening outside, opening in the cell walls. So this is the phlegm bulb. The phlegm bulb, there are several slides here. So the body fluid, body waste can move from the body fluid through the slide into the protonephridia, and then through the tube to remove to outside, to release to outside. So you can see this is the phlegm bulb here. So there are slides, there are several clefts here. So the interstitial fluid can move from the interstitial fluid from the body to inside, and then through the tube and remove from the body, release to outside. So this belonging to the protonephridia. So protonephridia is a excretory system of the lower animal, like the flatworm, like the flatworm using the protonephridia as the excretory systems. And the second is the metanephridia. Metanephridia is like the major is the excretory system in the earthworm. Earthworm is a little bit higher grade than the flatworm. So the earthworm, there are several segments here. So each segment of the earthworm has a pair of the opening-ended metanephridia. So each segment in the earthworm, there is a metanephridia here. Metanephridia means there is an opening in the former segments. So they will collect the nitrogenous waste. They will collect the waste in the prior segments. So the metanephridia consists of the tube here, and the colon fluid produce the dilute urea for the secretion. So the metanephridia collect the waste in the former colon. So they will collect the waste and through the tube and release external opening, release outside. So in the earthworm, the excretory system is metanephridia. And in the invertebrate, like the arthropods, like the insects and the other terrestrial arthropods, they use the Malpighian tubulus as the excretory systems. So insects and the other terrestrial arthropods using the Malpighian tubulus remove the nitrogenous waste. So the insects, we know the insect and the arthropods, the interstitial fluid called the hemolymph, right? So the hemolymph and the function as the osmo regulation. So the insects produce the relative dry waste. Insects produce the uric acid, right, as the nitrogenous waste. So the insect produce the uric acid is very dry. It's very dry because insect needed to keep the water in the body. So the terrestrial insects also take the water from the air. Okay, so the insects like the grasshopper, there is a Malpighian tubular outside the stomach. Okay, so the Malpighian tubular they will swim in the body, so they will collect the nitrogenous waste from the Malpighian tubulus, and then mix with the feces and remove from the anus, remove as the uric acid remove body. Okay, so the Malpighian tubulus is a excretion machine, excretion systems in the arthropods and the insects. So using the Malpighian tubulus, they will swim in the body and collect the nitrogenous waste. And finally, the nitrogenous waste will be converted to the uric acid and the feces and removed from the anus, released outside. Okay. And the human using the kidney as the main organ for the excretory systems. So I will introduce the kidney. So the kidney is the main is an excretory organ of the vertebrate, and the kidney function in both excretion and the osmo regulation. So kidney is very important because kidney can play the the major role in the excretion system, and then kidney also play a critical role in the osmo regulation. So this is an excretory organ of the human. So I introduced the blood vessel here. So this is the posterior vena cava. So the kidney, there is a pair, two kidney in the human. So this is the renal artery, and this is aorta. Aorta is the major blood vessel from the heart. And the kidney will produce the urine, and the urine can release from the kidney to the urinary bladder through this duct called the ureter, right? Ureter. So each kidney has a ureter linked to the urinary bladder, and finally the urine will release outside through the urethra. Okay, so this kidney is very important important organ in the excretory systems. So we can see the cross section of the kidney here. So the kidney, the structure of kidney contains the two parts. So the outer part is the renal cortex, and the inner part is the renal medulla. So the outer part is the renal cortex, the inner part is renal medulla. Okay, so the renal cortex is the outer layer of the kidney, and the inner layer is renal medulla, and this is renal artery, this is renal vein, and this is ureter. Ureter will is a tube to carry the urine to the urinary bladder. And also we can see this area. You can see in the kidney there are several units called the nephron. So that is the basic unit of the kidney, nephron. So the nephron is the basic unit of the kidney. So you can see the nephron show the different locations. Some the nephron close to in the cortical. So the cortical nephron. And there is another type, the nephron is very close to the medulla, called the justa medulla nephron. So the nephron have the two different type. One is the cortical nephron, and the other type is very close to the medulla, called the justa. Justa means close to justa medulla nephron. Okay, so the two type. One is a cortical nephron, the other is a justa medulla nephron. And this is the renal medulla. So the renal medulla, so the urine will through the cortical to the medulla, and the final the urine will move to the central part of the kidney called the renal pelvis. So the renal pelvis is the site to collect the urine, and the urine will from the renal pelvis to the ureter to the urinary bladder through the urethral and release outside. So the nephron is the basic unit of the kidney. So you can see the detail of the nephron structure. Okay, so the nephron including this ball structure, also the Bowman capsule. So the Bowman capsule here, inside the Bowman capsule, there is a ball of the capillary called the glomerular. So the glomerular is a ball of the capillary inside the Bowman capsule. And then the Bowman capsule will link to the proximal tubular and the loop of the henium and the distal tubular and the back to the collecting duct. Okay, so the glomerular inside the Bowman capsule, there are two arteries. Is an afferent artery from the glomerular artery. Afferent, A-F-F-E-R-E-N-T means the inside, and the E means exist. Afferent arterial means outside. So the different pressure between the inside and the outside. So they will produce the filtrate here. So the glomerular and here it will produce the filtrate through the proximal tube, through the loop of the henium. Loop of the henium including the two parts. This is a descending lip. This is the ascending lip. Okay, so the filtrate move from the proximal tube to the descending limb of the loop of the henium, and the ascending limb of the loop of the henium, and then to the distal tube, and the back to the collecting duct. The collecting duct will link to the renal pelvis. So the renal pelvis will collect the urine from the different collecting duct, and then from the renal pelvis to the ureter to the urinary bladder. Okay, so this is the nephron organization. So this slide show under the electron microscope, you can see the detailed, the very small, many blood vessels here. So the and the peritubular capillary and the glomerular, yellow ball is glomerular here. So you can see in the nephron, in the kidney, there are many glomerular, many nephron, okay, here. So this is a bigger one figure. You can see the blood vessel from this is the glomerular, and the arterial and the glomerular. So you can see that there are several nephrons in the kidney. So the function of the nephron is to produce the filtrate, okay? So the filtrate, the primary filtrate, protein capsule, contain the salt, glucose, amino acid, vitamin, nitrogenous waste, and other smaller molecules. So I just want to mention the filtrate from the glomerular, the primary filtrate contain the many precious, many different molecules, like the salt and the nitrogenous base, also valuable solute like the amino acid, the vitamin, and the small molecule. So this is the primary filtrate from the glomerular, from the bone capsule. And then the blood filtrate, how to produce the urine from the blood filtrate. So they needed to several steps. So from the filtrate, release from the glomerular, they will enter to the proximal tube. So you can see the filtrate to the urine through the proximal tube. In the proximal tube, they will reabsorb the iron, water, and the nutrient take place in the proximal tube. So in the proximal tube, the function of the proximal tube is for the reabsorption. Okay. The molecules are transported actively and passive through the filtrate into the intestine and then the capillary. And some toxic material are actively excreted into the filtrate. As the filtrate passes through the proximal tube, the filtrate will be concentrated. So this is very important. So through the proximal tube, they will reabsorb some valuable material like the iron and the nutrient. And then the filtrate will become concentrated. So you can see here, so the filtrate from the glomerular, they will re-enter the proximal tube. In the proximal tube, there are some molecule, some small molecule, some iron will be reabsorbed. So the red one is active transport. Active transport means the needed to spend the ATP. So the sodium chloride nutrients will be reabsorbed back to the body, and the water and the potassium and the hydrocarbonate. So they will be passive transport into the body, and some proton and the ammonia will release from the body into the proximal tube. So in the proximal tube, you can see the concentration of the ammonia, the urine, the filtrate concentration will become concentrated. Okay, so this is the figure just want to show here. So in this figure, in addition to show the proximal tube, we also can see in the loop of the hernia, they are descending and ascending. In the descending limb of the loop of the hernia, they will reabsorb the water. So passive transport of the water. So water will be reabsorbed back to the body through the descending limb of the loop of the hernia. And the ascending limb, the ascending limb will reabsorb the sodium chloride. In the deep limb, through the passive transport of the sodium chloride. And in the outer medulla parts, they will reabsorb the sodium chloride by the active transport. So in this part, you needed to understand the descending limb reabsorb the water, and the ascending limb reabsorb the sodium chloride. In the distal tubular will reabsorb the sodium chloride, water, and the hydrogen carbon, and the potassium and the proton will back to the distal tube. Okay, so you can see in the nephron, the filtrate will from the cortex to the medulla, and then back to the cortex, and then through to the collecting duct. Okay, so this is the movement of the urine, to produce the urine. Okay, so in the collecting duct, they will collect the several filtrates from the different nephron. So in the collecting duct, they will reabsorb the sodium chloride and the urine, small amount of urine and the water, and make the urine to be concentrated, So this is the picture to show the reabsorption of the material in the nephron, from the cortex to medulla and back to the cortex. And finally, the filtrate will release to the collecting duct. So we can see the wording here. So the descending limb of the loop of the hernia reabsorb the water continues through the channel for the aquaporin protein. So aquaporin protein is very important water channel. Yeah, aquaporin protein is an important water channel. They will carry the water, reabsorption of the water. So I will make, there is a slide to focus on the aquaporin protein later. So the movement is driven by the higher osmolality of the interstitial, which is hyperosmotic to the filtrate. So the filtrate becomes the concentrating. So I just want to mention, from the primary filtrate to the final urine, the process, they run the different process, and the purpose is to make the urine more concentrated. Okay, so the higher osmolality. Okay, so the ascending limb of the loop of the hernia, ascending limb here is reabsorb the sodium chloride. Descending is reabsorb for the high water. So the ascending limb for the reabsorb the sodium chloride. So the ascending limb will make the filtrate become a little bit dilute, okay? And the distal tube is for regulate the potassium and the sodium chloride concentration. So the dish is to adjust the pH value. And then finally, the collecting duct. Collecting duct filters through the medulla to the renal pelvis. So this is collecting duct. They will carry the filtrate through the medulla to the renal pelvis. Here is renal pelvis. Okay. So the collecting duct, they will carry the filtrate through the medulla to the renal pelvis. And the most important test in reabsorb the solute water. So urine is hyperosmotic to the body fluid. So finally, the urine produced by a human is hyperosmotic to the body fluid. So there is an important issue about the urine systems is to produce the higher concentration of the urine. So the solute concentration and the water conservation is very important in the excretory systems. So as we know, our body, the osmolality of the body is about the 300 milli-osmolality in blood. So the mammalian kidney ability to conserve the water is a key terrestrial adaptation. So the mammalian human kidney is to conserve the water. We don't want to remove the water from the body. So as we know, the osmolality in the blood is about the 300 milli-osmolality. But in the urine, the osmolality increased to 1,200 milli-osmolality, even more. So I just want to mention the human can produce the hyperosmotic urine can be reproduced only because the considerable energy is expended to transport. So our excretory system spends lots of the energy to produce the hyperosmotic urine. So expended to transport solute against the concentration gradient. So how kidney can produce the hyperosmotic urine? Yeah, this through special systems. I will mention special model. This model called the two solute model. So because our blood, the osmolality of our blood is around 300, but the urine is 1,200. It's about the four-fourths higher than the blood. So needed to through a special model. So against the concentration. So the particular loop of the hernia energy consuming machine to produce the gradient for the extraction of the water. So there are two solutes, two primary solutes is very important to produce the hyperosmotic urine. So the two solutes, solutes are sodium chloride and the urine. So the sodium chloride deposit renal medulla by the loop of the hernia. So the sodium chloride will deposit in the renal medulla to keep the renal medulla at a higher concentration of the sodium chloride. And the collecting duct in the medulla, there are some urea will precipitate it, will deposit in the medulla of the collecting duct. So these two solute systems can make the people to produce the hyperosmotic urine. So this called the two solute model. Two solute model the purpose of the two solute model in the excreting system is to produce the higher concentration of the urine, hyperosmotic urine. And so in the proximal tube, the filtrate volume decrease, but osmolality remain the same. In the counter current multilayer, there is a counter current multilayer systems involving the loop of the hernia maintain the higher salt concentration in the kidney. And the counter current multiplier system, there is a counter current multiplier system utilize the electric pump, and the loop of the hernia create the higher urine concentration deeper in the medulla. So using the counter current multiplier system, the kidney will produce the higher concentration of the urine in the medulla near the collecting duct. So this system allow the vasolator. Vasolator is a type of the blood vessel. They will interfere with the osmolality gradient. So they will not, the vasolator is a vessel to supply the kidney nutrient. This vasolator, without interfering with the osmolality gradient, it means the vasolator blood vessel can supply the energy for the kidney and make the kidney to produce the concentration higher in the medulla. So the considerable is expanded to maintain the osmolality gradient between the medulla and the cortex. So finally, in the kidney, they will produce the concentration gradient from the cortex to the medulla, higher concentration in the medulla. So make the human can produce the hyperosmotic urine. So this is called the two solute system through the counter current multiplier systems. So counter current multiplier system can produce the higher urine concentration in the medulla, and the energy provided by the vasolator is a blood vessel can supply the energy for the kidney. Okay, so you can see the next slide here. So the collecting duct conduct the filtrate through the osmolality gradient, and the more water is inhibit the filtrate. So urine diffuse out of the collecting duct as it trades into the inner medulla. So the urea and the sodium chloride form the osmotic gradient and enable the kidney to produce the urine in the hyperosmotic. Okay, so this slide the same as before. So I just want to mention the urine and the NaCl, the new sodium chloride, make an osmotic gradient and enable the kidney to produce the hyperosmotic urine. Okay, so there is a figure here. So you can see this is show the osmolality, mini osmolality. So in the blood vessel, the blood osmolality is around the 300 mini osmolality. So the filtrate is around the 300, right? 300, it's the same as the blood. And through the proximal tube, and then this is a descending limb, this is ascending limb, and finally it's a distal tube. This is the collecting duct. So the sodium chloride and the urine, you can see the wording here. The sodium chloride and the urine contribute to the osmolality of the interstitial fluid. So the sodium chloride and the urine will build up the gradient here from the cortex to the medulla. So the sodium chloride increase in the descending limb and the decrease in the ascending limb. So the sodium chloride increase in the descending limb, and the decrease in the ascending limb. And the urine diffuse into the interstitial fluid of the medulla from the collecting duct. Urea released from the collecting duct to the medulla. So they will build up the higher concentration of the urea in the inner medulla. And the most urea is excreted. So in the collecting duct, more water in the collecting duct, more water will be reabsorbed. So the concentration of the urine, the urine will increase the osmolality from 300 to 1,200, okay? So in the collecting duct, more water move out by the osmosis, and the concentration of the solute will be increased. So finally, the urine, the osmolality of the urine is around 1,200 through these systems. And the red arrow is active transport. The purple, light purple arrow is passive transport, okay? So this is called the two solute model using the counter current multiplier systems. And the vertebrate kidney needed to have a small adjustment to adapt the diverse environments. So the form and the function of the nephron in various vertebrate classes are related to the requirement of osmo regulation in the animal habits. So as maybe you remember the previous slide, the nephron, there are two types of the nephron. The one type is very close to the cortex, called the cortical nephron. The other is very close to the medulla, called the justa medulla nephron. So the nephron, there are two types. So the nephron, two types of nephron have the different function, depends on the environment. So the mammals, there is the justa medullary nephron. Justa medullary nephron I showed before is a nephron very close to the medulla. So the function of the justa medullary nephron is a key to water conservation in the terrestrial animals. And the mammals, they inhabit dry environment, have the long loops of the henium. So if the mammals living in the dry environment, the mammals have the longer loop of the henium, while those in the fresh water, they have the shorter loop. So this slide I just want to mention about the nephron structure, the longer or shorter or relative short loop depending on their living place. So the living environment will make the nephron to do a small change, okay? And the birds and the other reptile, birds have a shorter loops of the henium, but they can conserve the water by excreting uric acid instead of urea. So the birds also have the shorter loop of the henium. But how the birds can keep the water, because birds living on land, living in the air. So how the birds to keep the water? Because birds excrete uric acid. As I mentioned before, the uric acid needed to dehydrate from the urea to produce the uric acid. So the uric acid is a dry PPT. So the uric acid instead of urea to make the birds can conserve the water in the body. And the other reptile has only cortical nephron, but also excrete nitrogenous waste are uric acid. So some reptile only have the cortical nephron. Cortical nephron means the nephron close to the cortical. So they also excrete uric acid to make the nitrogenous waste very dry, so can conserve the water in the body. So there is an example. This is the roadrunner. Roadrunner is the birds living in the desert. So they needed, the environment is very dry. So the roadrunner is a birds, an animal well adapted for the conserving the water. So the roadrunner has a justa medullary nephron for the water conservation. So justa medullary nephron is for the water conservation. So some of the species, some animals living in the dry area, they needed to have several justa medullary nephron to conserve the water. And the freshwater fish and the amphibian, freshwater fish conserve the salt in the distal tube and excrete large amount of the dilute urine. I also introduced this before. So the kidney function in amphibian similar to the freshwater fish. Okay, so the freshwater fish release excrete large amount of the diluted urine, and also the kidney function of the amphibian the same as the freshwater fish. So the amphibian conserve water. Amphibian means they can live on land, they also can live in the water. So the amphibian will make the small adjustments. So the amphibian conserve the water on land by reabsorbing water from the urinary bladder. So amphibian, when the amphibian living on land, they needed to keep the water. So the amphibian will change the system and conserve the water on land by reabsorbing the water through the urinary bladder. So the amphibian can use the urinary bladder to reabsorb the water and keep the water when the amphibian live on land. And the marine bunny fish living in the hyperosmotic solution. So marine bunny fish are hyperosmotic compared to their environment. So the marine bunny fish have a small glomerulus. So the marine bunny fish, the kidney has a small glomerulus. And sometimes some fish or even lack the glomerulus entirely. So the marine bunny fish, the filtration rate is much lower than the freshwater. So marine bunny fish produce the very little urine is excreted. So the marine bunny fish, the environment is hyperosmotic to the body. So the kidney already only small glomerulus, even no glomerulus. So the filtration rate is much lower. So very little urine is produced. Okay, so these are animals. And then the last part I want to show the hormone circuit link the kidney function. The hormone circuit also can regulate the function of the kidney, regulate the urine system, regulate the excretory systems. So the hormone is very important. Yeah. So the kidney function is very critical. So some higher blood pressure patient, they needed to take the drug to excrete much water, so they can reduce the blood pressure. So the kidney function also closely related to the blood pressure, to the several human disease. So the hormone circuit link kidney function, water balance, and the blood pressure. So the mammal control the volume and the osmolality of the urine. So the mammal, like a human, needed to control the urine volume and also control the osmolality in the renal range. So some animals like the South American vampire bat, what the specialty of this bat? Because this bat can control the urine, control the amount of the urine. So the kidney of the South American vampire bat can produce either the very diluted urine or very concentrated urine, depends on the environment. So this allowed the bat to reduce their body weights and rapidly and digest a large amount of the protein and conserve the water. So because the vampire needed to fly, when they faced some trouble condition, they needed to reduce the weight. So the vampire, the South American vampire bat, they will quickly to adjust the urine concentration. Sometimes it's diluted, sometimes it's concentrated to adjust the body weight and make the vampire bat can treat the emergency condition. Okay, so some animals also can adjust the kidney function to produce the dilute and the concentrated urine. So this is a figure of the vampire bat, South America. So in the human, in the mammals, there is a critical hormone, also called the ADH, antidiuretic hormone. The antidiuretic, anti means the against, diuretic means the urine production. promote the urine production. So antidiuretic hormone is a hormone to reduce the urine volume. Okay, so the anti-ADH is a very critical hormone to reabsorb the water to reduce the urine volume. So when we are asleep at night, the amount of the ADH will be increased. So release the ADH into the blood will decrease the urine volume at night. So we don't have to get up for the urine release. Okay, so the ADH is a very critical hormone to control the urine volume. So the osmolality of the urine is regulated by the normal hormone control. So the antidiuretic hormone make the collecting duct epithelium more permeable to water. So the ADH can increase the osmolality. An increase in the osmolality trigger the release of the ADH, help to conserve the water. So it means the release of the ADH will make the water reabsorb back to the body and reduce the urine volume. Okay, so we have figure here. Okay, so the hormone produced by the pituitary, right? So from we have the higher level of the control center in the brain, so that called the hypothalamus. So the hypothalamus, the osmolality in the hypothalamus trigger the release of the ADH. Okay, so when normally the blood osmolality is around the 300 milli-osmolality per liter. This is the same as I mentioned before. So when the blood osmolality increased, so increase the blood osmolality means the water is not enough, right? So increase in blood osmolality, for instance, after the sweating and the profusely. After the sweating, maybe we lost lots of the water, so the blood osmolality will be increased. So this called the stimulus. So the stimulus will transmit to the osmo receptor in the hypothalamus. So hypothalamus will send the message, send the information to the pituitary and release the ADH. Okay, you can see. So the increased osmolality will stimulate the hypothalamus, trigger the release of the ADH. And the ADH is a hormone. The hormone means is a chemical they needed to transport to the target organs through the blood. So the ADH through the blood transported to the collecting duct. Okay, this is collecting duct. So the collecting duct, there are many receptors on the surface of the collecting duct. They will trigger the water reabsorption, help to prevent further osmolality increase. So they will reabsorb the water and reduce the osmolality to the 300 milli-osmolality. So this is a control when the increase the osmolality. So the ADH is a critical hormone released from the pituitary and through the blood vessel to binding to the receptor in the collecting duct. And also the increased osmolality, we needed to drink more water so you can feel the thirst and drink the water drinking and reduce the blood osmolality to the set points. So this is the regulation. So binding of the ADH to the receptor needed to temporarily increase the number of the aquaporin protein and the membrane of the collecting duct, the aquaporin protein. Aquaporin protein is a receptor on the collecting duct. They can make the water move out the collecting duct to the interstitial fluid. So you can see here, this mechanism. So in the collecting duct, we can make it bigger like this one. So this is a collecting duct. This is a epithelial cell. So when the ADH release from the hypothalamus from the pituitary, they will through the blood vessel to binding with the receptor in the collecting duct. So in the collecting duct, there is the ADH receptor here. So the ADH binding with the receptor, they will activate the secondary messenger. In the signal transduction, we always call the cycle AMP is the secondary messenger, right? Secondary messenger. So the secondary messenger signal will stimulate. There are several aquaporin protein. If no stimulate, if no ADH binding, the aquaporin protein storage in the storage vesicle. So the aquaporin protein in the vesicle, when the ADH binding, they will activate the secondary messenger and make the aquaporin vesicle, the storage vesicle fusion with the cell membrane. So the secondary messenger will stimulate the storage vesicle to fuse with the cell membrane, and then the water from the inside, from the collecting duct, will move through the aquaporin protein to the interstitial fluid. Okay, so this is the process to show how the ADH can stimulate the water movement from the collecting duct to the interstitial fluid, because because the collecting duct expresses the ADH receptor. So the ADH can bind into the receptor and activate the secondary messenger, and to induce the fusion, the exocytosis, the fusion of the storage vesicle, and then the water can, through the aquaporin protein, move from the water to the interstitial fluid, and to decrease the osmolality. So some patient has a mutation in the ADH. So in the mutation in the ADH or mutation in the ADH receptor, they will cause severe dehydration and the results in the diabetes insipidus. So if the mutation in the receptor or in the ADH, it means the receptor or ADH mutation, the ADH cannot bind into the receptor. So the water cannot remove from cannot release from the collecting duct to the interstitial fluid. So they will produce large amount of the urine, right? So this called the diabetes. Sometimes this type of patients sometimes has the diabetes, so-called the diabetes insipidus. So the mutation in the ADH or in the ADH receptor cause the severe dehydration because large amount of water will be removed from the body, so cause the insipidus. And some people drinking the beer or drinking the alcohol, drinking the beer or red wine, large amount of the beer, they will easy to go to pee, right? So the alcohol also is diuretic because alcohol can inhibit the release of the ADH. So the alcohol is a diuretic because alcohol can inhibit the release of the ADH. So water cannot be reabsorbed back to the interstitial fluid. So large amount of the urine. So alcohol is a diuretic chemical, diuretic agent. So how to know if the aquaporin gene is very critical for water movements? So there is an experiment here. So this experiment using the genetic methods. So prepare the copy of the human aquaporin gene and the 2 mutant plus 1 wild type. So this experiment prepare the aquaporin. How to know the aquaporin is very critical for the water movements. So the author prepare the wild type aquaporin DNA and the 2 mutant aquaporin DNA, and then synthesize the messenger RNA, right? So the DNA, RNA, protein, this is the central dogma in the molecular biology. So this experiment just want to show the aquaporin protein is very critical for the water flow, water movements. So the author prepared the wild type of DNA and the 2 mutant DNA aquaporin gene, and to synthesize the messenger RNA. And then the author injected the wild type of DNA or mutant DNA into the oocytes. Okay, so this is mutant wild type, and also injected the water as a control group. And then they transfer the oocyte after injected with different type of the aquaporin, and then we will immerse the oocyte into the hypoosmotic solution. So this 10 milli osmolality means the hypoosmotic. And you can see only the wild type aquaporin oocyte, expression oocyte will be swelled. Water can enter into the oocyte. These two mutant type aquaporin, the water cannot move inside. Okay, so you can see their result here. So injected the RNA, if the RNA derived from the wild type aquaporin, the permeability around the 196 micrometer per second means the water can easier through the aquaporin into the oocytes. And the none is a control about the 20. If the mutant aquaporin, there's no increased permeability. So this slide just want to show the aquaporin protein is a very critical, very important water channel. So also there's another question about because we mentioned about the ADH mutation will cause a human disease, diabetes insipidus. So can aquaporin mutation cause the diabetes insipidus? Of course, but still needed to more evidence. So aquaporin mutation can cause diabetes insipidus. Okay, needed to find. So this is the bigger one figure here. Okay, so the last slide I want to show the okay. Sorry. Okay. So what happened to this one? So the last system I want to talk about the RAAS system. RAAS system is very important in the urine systems, so-called the renin, angiotensin, aldosterone systems. This system, why the system is very important, because this system can control the homeostasis, the water balance in the body, also control the blood pressure. So the RAAS system play a complex feedback circuit function in the homeostasis. So this means so RAAS system not only control the water, control the renal, they also control the blood pressure. So a drop in the blood pressure near the glomerular cause the JGA region to release the enzyme. So the juxtaglomerular apparatus. So the low blood pressure near the glomerular can cause the effects in the JGA. I have a figure later. And then the JGA will release the enzyme called the renin. So the renin is very critical. Renin is like a protease. So the renin can trigger the formation of the peptide, angiotensin 1, angiotensin 2. And the angiotensin 2 can raise the blood pressure and decrease the blood flow to the kidney, and stimulate the release of the hormone aldosterone, and with the increase the blood volume and the pressure. I just want to show this is the wording. I show the figure. I use the figure to explain. So there is a region called here. This region is a JGA, juxtaglomerular apparatus. So this the glomerular is the Bowman capsule. So there is a region very close to the glomerular. So this is called the JGA. So the low blood volume over blood pressure decrease or blood volume decrease. For example, due to the dehydration or blood loss, they will induce the JGA region. So the JGA region will release the renin. Renin is the protease. So the JGA release the renin. They will digest the angiotensinogen. Angiotensinogen is the precursor of the angiotensin. So they will convert the angiotensinogen to angiotensin 1. Angiotensin 1 release. Angiotensin 1 also inactive. They needed to convert it to the angiotensin 2. So there is an enzyme very important called the angiotensin converting enzyme. So angiotensin converting enzyme is very critical in the several human disease, like the COVID-19 also through the ACE2 receptor, right? So the ACE can convert it to the angiotensin 1 to the angiotensin 2. So angiotensin 2 can work can work on the adrenal gland to release the aldosterone. Aldosterone stimulates the distal tube in the nephron to more sodium and water reabsorb and increase the blood volume. So RAS system can through the aldosterone to work on the distal tube to reabsorb the sodium and the water to increase the blood pressure. So homeostatic blood pressure and the volume. So the angiotensin 2 also can work on the can cause the arterial contract, increase the blood pressure. Finally, can maintain the homeostasis of the body. So this is called the RAS system. It's a very important system in the body. Okay, so I just want to mention this system. So the homeostatic regulation of the kidney. So the Adh Antidiuretic Hormone and the RAS system can increase the water reabsorption, but only RAS system will respond to the blood pressure. ADH cannot respond to the blood pressure, so there's a little bit difference. Both ADH and RAS can cause the increase the water reabsorption, can reduce the osmolality, but only RAS system can respond to the blood pressure. So the several drugs targeted to the ACE converting enzyme to treat the higher blood pressure. And another hormone called the AMP, just called the atrial natriuretic peptide. The function of the AMP against the RAS is like the antagonist. And the AMP is released in response to increase the blood volume and the pressure, inhibit the release of the water. Okay, so the homeostatic regulation of the kidney, including the ADH, RAS, and another is the AMP. AMP is against the RAS systems. Okay, so the other slides is a conclusion as the different animals. So I don't want to mention more. So I will stop here. So this is the last slide. I want to show the different hormone regulation in the kidney function in the ureteric system. Okay, so I want to stop here. So any question from the student or professors? Is there any question or any slides I did not have the good explanation? Maybe you can also can ask me, also can raise the questions. Is there any question about the slides? No? Any question is okay. Maybe not related to the textbook, to the topic. Maybe you student can ask if you want to come to Taipei or come to our program, how to apply or something. That is okay. Yeah, because we now is we have 2 more minutes. Yeah, so maybe student can ask any question like how about the study here in Taipei, or what's your opinion to study here? It's okay. Yeah. Yes. Also, if you have some question, you also can send me the email as I mentioned last time. So because the course is only 2 hours and 2 hours course, so maybe the time is not so enough. And if you have any question about the physiology or biology of the urinary systems, you also can send me the email. I can reply by the email. So maybe it's okay.
Okay, Prof. Chen, thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for
I'm sorry.
Thank you for your invitation. Yeah,
I have problem with the connection. I don't know, keep going in and out. Very interesting lecture. Actually, class, do you have question for Prof. Chen?
Yeah, thank you for your invitation. Yeah, I'm glad to join the course. Yeah, thank you.
How about the role of hormone, Prof, in the reabsorption or in the process of urinary system?
How about
Of antidiuretic hormone, any other hormone that take part in the system instead of antidiuretic hormone, maybe?
yeah, and antidiuretic problem? So you mean the professor means the antidiuretic problem using the systems?
No, I mean instead of antidiuretic hormone, any other hormone also take part in the physiology of urinary system.
Yeah, they are
Yes.
like the human disease related to the excretory systems, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so there are several diseases, but sometimes the problem caused by the sepsis, by the inflammation, so or some drug effects. So here there are several diseases like in addition to the antidiuretic, I found that in the Taiwan the urinary system, the disease urinary system like the CKD or AKD, like the chronic kidney disease or acute kidney disease, because in it some Taiwan people will intake the more traditional medicine. Yeah, they will cause some damage in the kidney and cause some problems. So yeah, there are several diseases. Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Any other question, class? No? No question for Prof. Chen? Okay, if you have questions, so I will pass it to Prof. Chen through email.
Okay, no problem.
Maybe
Yeah,
Prof.
welcome. Yeah.
Okay.
I just mentioned about any question is okay. Yeah.
Okay, Prof.
Maybe not related to the topic or because I am also does a work here. So if you have anything related to the medicine, so it's fine. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for today interesting lecture, Prof. We are very happy to have you in our class. So okay, I will end the class today. Thank you very much, class. See you again next week. Thank you very much, Prof. Chen. Bye bye. Good afternoon. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, Dia. Thank you. Don't forget to send the recording. Yes, thank you, Prof. Okay, please allow me to end the session, Prof. I will close the Zoom. Okay, bye, guys.